Let's take a look at factoring trinomials using the AC method. And before we jump into the AC method, you want to make sure you have an understanding of how to do factoring by grouping. So take a look at the factoring by grouping video just to make sure you grasp it, because factoring using the AC method actually leads us into a grouping problem every single time. So what is the AC method? The AC method is a way of factoring trinomials, and it starts off by telling us to multiply a times c. But what is a and what is c? Well, a is the leading coefficient here, which in this particular problem is a 1, and c is always your constant term, the term that does not have an x or a variable. So that's our c term. And the AC method begins by multiplying a times c. So that's what we're going to do. If we do a times c here, that's 1 times 10, and that gives us 10. The next step of the AC method is to write down the factors of 10, all the different ways you could get a positive 10 through multiplication. Well, we could do 1 times 10. We could also do negative 1 times negative 10, right? A negative times a negative is a positive 10. We could do 2 times 5, and we could do negative 2 times 5. I think those are all the possibilities there. Oops. Negative 2 times negative 5. So those are all the possible ways we could multiply numbers to get a positive 10. Now we want to choose a set of these numbers here, one set, that also adds up to this middle term. So we need to find a set of those numbers that we can combine to make a negative 7. So let's take a look here. 1 plus 10, that's 11. That's not going to give us a negative 7. Negative 1 plus a negative 10, that's a negative 11. So that's out. 2 plus 5, that's a positive 7, but not a negative 7. We need a negative 7. Negative 2 plus a negative 5, that is a negative 7. So that'll actually work out for us. So we're going to use a negative 2 and a negative 5. How are we going to use them? Well, we're going to rewrite our problem here. But I'm not going to write down the middle term just yet. I'm going to write down this end constant here. And what we're going to do is we're going to split our middle term up using the two numbers we found over here. So instead of writing a negative 7x, I'm going to write a minus 2x minus 5x. And again, negative 2 minus 5 is a negative 7. So we haven't really changed anything. We've just split 7 up into two different numbers. Now look at what we have here. We have 4 terms. This is a factoring by grouping problem. Factor by grouping, which we've already done. So now we just do our grouping process. Split it down the middle. Ignore this group for now, and we just look at our first group. What do they have in common? Looks like just an x. 1 and 2 only have a 1 in common, so x looks to be like the only thing we can pull out. And if we pull an x out, what does that leave us with? It leaves us with an x minus 2. Looking at the second group, looks like they have a negative 5 in common. So we'll pull out a negative 5. And that'll leave us with an x, and 10 divided by negative 5 is negative 2. These two terms match, so we know we've probably done everything correct. And since they match, we can pull that out, leaving us with these two outside pieces as our other factor. And we've just completed the AC method. I've got one more problem to look at here, just for some practice. We'll jump right into it. We do A times C. That's 5 times negative 3, which is a negative 15. Now we're going to write all the different ways we can make negative 15. Negative 1 times 15, 1 times negative 15. We could do 3 times negative 5, or negative 3 times positive 5. Those will all give us negative 15. The catch is that we need two numbers that add up to negative 14. So let's go through these. Negative 1 plus 15, well, that's positive 14. We need a negative 14. 1 minus 15 is negative 14. So these will be the two numbers we use here. We rewrite our problem, making sure we split the middle term. So that'll be, we're using a plus 1x and a minus 15x. And now we just factor by grouping. The first group, it looks like they have an x in common. That'll leave us with a 5x plus 1. Second group looks like a negative 3 is the biggest number that'll go into both 15 and 3, or negative 15 and negative 3, leaving us with that'll be 5x, and negative 3 divided by negative 3 is a positive 1. These match, so we can be sure we've done it correctly. And we can write that term down. And the two outside pieces come together to form our other factor. And we're done. So that is the AC method.